Good. Yes, I'm live. It's working. Again, it's me, Ari does it. Or for those who follow this channel, you just call me Rashid. Let me know when you're here in the live chat. I can see the live chat right over here. I also have a new standard to put my phone on, so I'm happy with that. So please, when you're here, let me know the live chat. I'll start at 4 minutes, as always. So, yes, in this live stream, just to tell you what I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about pacts of silence, and I'm going to use the example of the Madeleine McCann case. Madeleine McCann, I mean. And I'm not going to talk only about the Madeleine McCann case. I'm using it as an example in this live stream. That's why I also mentioned in the title. I won't go too deep into the case because there's been many YouTube videos about it. The media has been on it for years. At this time, Madeleine McCann has been missing for someone said 14 years, 8 months, and 9 days. She disappeared on the 3rd of May 2007. That's a while ago. The first time I heard about this case, of course, when I was 2007, I was in my teens. How young was I back then? I was around I was about 15, about turned 16 at the time. Correct, yes. So I can remember it was all over the news. But anyway, I'm going to go in depth at the 4-minute mark. The first 4 minutes of my live stream is always a short introduction and time for people to come in, and my actual work starts at 4 minutes in. I see Ninja Vikings here, Les Brown is here. Glad you're here. I see 2 thumbs up. Thank you very much. For those watching this, whether you're watching it live right now or you're playing it later on, please hit the like button. That will help this live stream to be noticed by more people on YouTube. All right. When you're here, let me know the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Also, let me know if you can hear me clearly. That I know if I should use my wireless earphones or not. They're fully charged, by the way. Okay. Let me check the live chat. Okay. You can hear me clearly. That's good. Let me see if I can open the live chat on the LCD screen over here too. That will be handy too. Hold on. Wait. And I'm about to start within a few seconds. Hold on. Within a few seconds. Hold on. Okay. It's, yes, a 4-minute mark. Live stream has begun officially. Well, in the class, I mean. Look, this Madeleine McCann case, we're going to talk about later. First, I'm going to explain what a pact of silence is, because that's what I'm going to talk about, and you'll understand why I'm using the Madeleine McCann case as an example in this. Now look, it's simple. When there is a scandal in a community, whether it's a scandal of a sexual nature, or whether it's related to financial exploitation, anytime there is some type of collective crime, or there is neglect, most of the time neglect, but anytime there is neglect or some active violation on the community's behalf that happens, the locals will see it happening, and the locals are part of it, some are not. They want it to go away. they want to silence others. They just want to deal with the situation. Why? Because when the facts of a scandal comes out, it will have a detrimental effect on their daily lives. Okay, for example, let's say you live in, let's say, Costa Rica or somewhere. Okay, you live in some town in Costa Rica near the border with Panama, and that area of Costa Rica is dependent on tourism. Apart from that, the place will go bankrupt. And one day, someone disappears. It's a tourist that disappears, a tourist from the United States. And here's the thing, most of the income of that town over there comes from American tourists. So, an American tourist disappears. You don't want to know about this if you live there. You know why? Because if this comes out that this individual has been gone for a while, well, you get the idea. It's going to be bad for the reputation of Costa Rica. It's going to be bad for the tourist industry, and locally, some of the business may go bankrupt. And maybe you're one of the people depending on those local businesses. Maybe you work at a restaurant or you work at some hotel. So if the place goes bankrupt, you become poor, and well, you either have to move away or you become homeless or whatever. So you have a vested interest in keeping the scandal hidden. That doesn't mean you agree with what happened, but you have a vested interest. So, if, for example, you hear rumors that an American tourist was kidnapped by some human traffickers and organ harvested, now it's true that there are gangs doing that over there. Let's say now one day it comes on the news that this American tourist that went missing in some village in Costa Rica. Now, you live in that village or live nearby, so you know very well the rumors that are going on. Are you going to come out and talk about the fact, yeah, there are gangs around here, from time to time they kidnap people? Will you do that? No. First of all, you have family. You have children maybe, or maybe you don't have children, you have a spouse, your spouse has family, you have in-laws, or your parents are there, or you have friends also. You also have a job you have to go to, or if you have your own business, you need customers and clients. So, you coming in the open and admitting this about your area, it's going to make you a target. And not only you. Because when you come out and reveal this, it will endanger the common interest of the local community. When the local community gets pissed off at you, they will take out on those around you. So you are not going to just come out in the open and reveal the obvious facts of the area. Now, some people will reveal things in an anonymous way on forums, all of that, but to just come out and openly say, well, yeah, this is what's going on around here. No, people won't do that. If you're a police officer, you also may not want to do that because you know that if the scandal comes out and the community goes bankrupt, there will be an increase in crime, and you don't want to deal with that also. Nobody wants. Now, this is just an example. Things like this happen all the time. But it's not only related to finances. Okay? Let me go to another example. Let's say now you take a village somewhere in France, for example. Or not a village, a small town. And in this small town, there is this, this banker whose family lives there, and he's suspected of molesting several children. Now, it's just an allegation. Sometimes people conduct smear campaigns and lie about you just to attack you. So without any proof, people say, or any evidence hinting that something like that may have happened, you would think, get out of here. We don't hear about this. But let's say now that it's now proven that children were molested over there, and later it's found out that this man was indeed guilty. Now, to molest children, you have to have time in your schedule to do it, in your timetable, I mean. So if this man was molesting so many children, where did he got the time from? That means he must have been away from his wife and his children, must have been away from his family, or he must have been away from work. So you get the idea. people had noticed something was wrong, but they just didn't want to look into it. So when it comes out that this man has been molesting children at ease for a while, what is going to happen to the reputation of that local community? It's going to go down. People that have business over there, their business will go bankrupt. If you were born or raised in that community and later you apply for a job, the association you have with that area will cause you to miss out on some job opportunities, because people will look at your resume or your CV and like, oh, you grew up in that town. Oh, but is that a town where there was this sexual molestation of children happening and it was covered up? Were you one of the victims, or did your parents know about it? So being associated with a scandal, even though you're not guilty of anything, can also be detrimental for you in daily life. So whenever there's a scandal going on, I'm not saying that bad stuff don't happen. There are times bad things happen and communities stand up. That's true. But when the community is neglectful in reflecting on themselves, they're the ones that were in on the scandals around them. Again, it doesn't always have to be of a sexual nature, even though many are. So, whenever there is neglect on the community's part, and the neglect, once exposed, will have detrimental effects, people will have an interest to keep it hidden. Right now, I don't say it's the right thing to do, but there are individual reasons why people do it, as I explained before. Now, what's a pact of silence is when people come together. They can do this formally by actually having a meeting at a cafe or in a church, whatever. Or it can be something people just get along with because it's expect of them. A pact of silence when people come together and they agree not to talk about something. They agree not even mention something. For example, it can be that you're in a place and you have this woman over there who's all over the place, hopping on the men that come over there. A lot of guys think, oh, what is this? She's known as the street hoe of the neighborhood. And she's all over the place. She's even targeting married men. The married men don't give in to her, but even visitors, people just come to the area and leave thinking, whoa, what is this? And this woman has a job. She works at some insurance company. Now you may think, why is this insurance company hiring this woman who's openly whoring herself out in the streets like this? Doesn't this make the insurance company look bad? Or so you see, there's inconsistency in the situation, because every company or every corporation needs to have a good reputation, because without a good reputation, you lose clients and customers. I mean, for real, if you need to hire a consultant or need to counselor, or if you need to hire a plumber, or whoever you need to hire, you would go for the one with a clean record. If you need to hire a plumber who used to be a drug trafficker, now if he was a drug trafficker, he went to prison and served his time and he's out to start a new life, okay, that's different. You would say, it's not my concern that you are a drug trafficker, you're not that anymore, you're not trafficking drugs over here. But if you need to choose between a plumber who used to be a drug trafficker or a plumber who had no criminal record, you would go for the one without a criminal record, rightfully so. Because just in case the plumber with a criminal record is suddenly charged again for something else, you don't want to have any association with it. Again, because let's say you hire a plumber who used to be a drug trafficker and later the guy's arrested for something else, police won't talk to you because police is going to check where this guy works. So you don't want that. You don't want people just you don't want the police to come at work interrogate you, because that will be detrimental for you. So if you have to choose between someone with a criminal background or someone who's clean, will likely go for the one that's clean. Now, some people will choose the one with a criminal record just out of principle to help people to react into society, but you get where I'm going with this. So let's say now in that neighborhood, you have this street hoe who works as an insurance company acting crazy publicly. So there's an inconsistency here. There's not a natural thing for people to put up with this. Now, but then you find out that this lady, when she was a child, she was molested frequently, and the people in the neighborhood didn't do anything about it. They just allowed it to happen. So they just said, we don't want to be bothered. We don't know anything about it. They allowed it to happen. But this woman then began to tell everyone about how nobody helped her out, and she even had proof. So the community came together and realized, you know what, this is coming out, it's going to cause assault. So you know what, Jamie, you over there, don't you know this guy who owns an insurance company? Please arrange she can get a job over there. Just pamper her with gifts, just to keep her quiet. If you guys stand up for her and help her out, she will feel beloved and she may forget what would happen to her. And it worked. She didn't actually forget what happened, but she was happy that some people reached out to her and offered her a job. But the sexual molestation led to sexual dysfunctional behavior in her, and the sexual dysfunctional behavior became worse and worse, and now she's a street hoe going all around. And the thing is, people put up with it. Why? Because if people would address her for her bad sexual behavior, she now has something to reveal about the community. And that's why they tolerate her being so promiscuous in public. Because they are part of the reason why she ended up that way. Now, as a grown woman, she has responsibility to look in the mirror and look for help, of course. So it's not complete on the community, but the community has a hand in how she turned out. And the community doesn't want that part of them to be revealed. So anytime in public you see dysfunction by certain people or groups, and dysfunction is irritating, this dysfunction is destructive, but nobody says anything about it, it is because the community has a hand in how that dysfunction came into place. And the community doesn't want to be charged, rightfully so, for their neglect or their part in how dysfunction came into place. So, in a pact of silence, people agree never to talk about something. And in some cases, they even agree to inflict punishments on people who do. You see this in a criminal world. Let's say you have a few drug dealers who rob another drug dealer. And during the robbery, they end up killing the other drug dealer who in his house. Now they get rid of the body. And they agree, okay, this went too far. We didn't intend to kill anyone, but it just we were here, we got into a fight, and we knocked him out, and he fell off the stairs and hit his head. He died. We didn't intend to kill anyone. But you know what? If this comes out, we'll go to prison, likely for life, or at least for 20 years. It's going to have a detrimental effect on our relatives. And even if we're not charged for him dying, we will still be charged for drug dealing. And we don't want any of this. So the few men decided, you know what, within a year, we all want to stop dealing drugs. And they did. And they decided, never going to talk about this. 25 years later, a skeleton is found in some yard nearby. And people figure out it used to belong to some drug dealer who lived there, who went missing 25 years ago. Now it's 25 years that passed. All those perpetrators who broke in all that, they're now becoming grandfathers at the moment. Okay? So, they are silent about it, but here's the thing. Their wives know about it. Also, other people also knew that they actually killed someone. And the thing is, the people that were around in the streets already figured out, this is what happens. But because nobody wants to stir any controversy in the community, people just want to be left alone and be at ease, they agree, we don't talk about it. We know who killed a drug dealer, which is what other drug dealers in the streets. Well, at least the drug dealers killed one another. No problem for us to use our tax money to keep them in prison. People began to make excuses. So that's how it goes. Pacts of silence. And don't just think this happens with criminals in the street, or it happens with organized crime, or it happens with a quote-unquote cabal, rich and powerful people coming together to conspire. Such things happen, but common people also have pacts of silence. Okay, let's say now someone was beaten up in the streets, and now the police arrested the perpetrators. But for some reason, the police released the perpetrators. Why? Because the judge decided we're going to dismiss the case. Because if we process the case, it's going to be too many consequences. Now here's the thing. the victim was beaten up in the streets. He used to work at a hotel. At hotel, his colleagues they couldn't stand him. Nobody liked him. Even the manager wanted to fire him. Just looking for a reason to fire him. But the thing is, this guy was doing a good job. Many of the customers were happy with him. But they want to get rid of him. Now, why do they want to get rid of him? Because all of those people working there, they all had issues in their lives they didn't want to face. So it was easier. It was easier to just, how do I say, project all their issues onto this guy who was always happy. So some of the female co-workers began to complain and murmur about him. And one of the boyfriends of those women decided, you know what, let me deal with that guy. He and his buddies beat him up. Here's the thing, that hotel where the victim used to work is a prestigious hotel. So if this comes out, it's going to have implications on the community. So the judge decided, you know what, we're going to dismiss this case. That's how things go. So even common people together who don't want to face anything in life form pacts of silence. Mm-hmm. So now you know what a pact of silence is. All right? So a pact of silence simply is an agreement in a collective never to mention something. And in many cases, they use violence on anyone who breaks the pact of silence. By the way, or strangers who come by and look into it, they begin to sabotage or even harm them. In some cases, people are even killed for asking about certain things. So another thing for you to watch out for in daily life. If there is any situation out there you encounter where there's an inconsistency that goes on, and you can clearly see the inconsistency, but you notice people don't talk about the issue, then watch out. There may be a pact of silence that's operating there. Just like the example I gave, there's a street hoe going around openly embarrassing people, and people just let it happen. There's an inconsistency here. Why do people put up with this? People don't even want to mention her going around doing all that. Or people do complain about it all the time, but don't do anything about it. When people keep complaining about something, but don't do anything about it, there's an inconsistency there also. Whenever you notice inconsistency, likely there's a pact of silence that keep that thing in place. And if it's a pact of silence, there's some other scandal, some other neglect they want you to figure out. It's good to know about these things because some people notice an inconsistency. They mention it and they became a target. Some people were even killed. This happens in Latin America. It also happens in other places in the world. So, are there any questions still about pacts of silence? A code of silence is a policy. A pact of silence is an agreement collectively. Code of silence is often used in organizations and when it comes to large groups. And a pact of silence has to do with smaller groups or people with specific interests. Are there any more questions about pacts of silence? Before I continue evaluating the Madeleine McCann case, let me know now. I'll wait for a minute. If I get no questions in a minute, I'll just continue with using the Madeleine McCann case as an example. Okay, I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, Feline understands it, which is good. Okay, I'll wait for 30 seconds more and then I'll continue. All right, I was ready to go move forward. And by the way, when you're here, please hit the like button. Thank you very much. Okay, time to move further. The Madeleine McCann case. Well, This 3-year-old Madeleine Beth McCann disappeared in Praia de Luz. That's how you pronounce it. I speak Portuguese, so in documentaries they pronounce it in very horrible ways. But anyway, Praia de Luz means the beach of the light. Kind of an occult name, but anyway, she disappeared there on the 3rd of May, 2007. And as you know history, there was a whole media circus around it. I mean it. She was even missing for a week. She wasn't even reported missing for a week, and there was already international media attention upon this. Well, some people say, well, Rashid, maybe because her dad was somehow connected socially with people that were involved in politics or with the media. Okay, but still, shouldn't you at least wait for a proper police investigation before the media begins to harass the area? So that's the number one inconsistency I noticed about this case. The second inconsistency is, and by the way, you can disagree with me, I'm not an expert on everything, okay? I'm an anthropologist, I'm a sociologist, I have knowledge of political science, also diplomacy and economics. I also have a deep historical knowledge also about especially the Spanish Empire and colonialism and imperialism. And as an anthropologist, I look at the context of situations, and as a sociologist, I look at the function of group dynamics. That's my specialization. I just mentioned them. So if you say Rashid, I disagree with that because maybe you have to look at it this way. Fine, okay. I'm not omniscient. I'm not a know-it-all. But there's a second inconsistency I've noticed about this case. The parents did not look that emotional about it. Oh, Rashid, the parents are doctors, so they have been trained not to be emotional too much. Okay, but still, this is not just a patient of yours. This is your 3-year-old daughter. Okay? And by the way, according to the Netflix documentary, you have a Netflix documentary, I believe 8 episodes. Each episode is quite long because they even give a lot of background information about the case, the places, all of that. So the Netflix documentary was made quite well, I have to say. In Netflix documentaries, they make plain that the couple tried often to get children. It didn't work, and finally when it worked, they got Madeleine, and then you had 2 other children also. So let me get it straight. Your daughter, that you made years effort to get, was finally born, and now she's gone, and the father appears with the wife in front of the camera. The wife is kind of looking away, and the father reads from a piece of paper. He barely makes contact with the viewers in the camera. Okay, I may be wrong in this, so please correct me if I am, but this is a bit weird, to say the least. Okay. Then you have the police investigation, which many are bashing the Portuguese police for, saying it was a horrible investigation, the crime was not sealed off. And here's the thing, according to Portuguese law, back then, I'm not sure if it changed now, disappearance isn't a crime, so it's not immediately treated as a crime. Portugal, please revisit your laws, please. But anyway, the police investigation was a bit off because people could enter in and out of the crime scene, and that contaminates things. But still, there was an investigation, and the Portuguese public there was quite cooperative. People were quite emotional about it, wanted to help, which is good. I appreciate such human empathy and sympathy. I admire that. But then it takes a dark turn. Another red flag was they immediately focused on one guy. There was a British guy who kind of lived there with his mom, and this claim he was in a divorce, was separating from his girl or from his partner. And this guy became a suspect. Because people said this guy helped out, he even was installed as a translator by the, I believe it was the British Embassy or some British organization, recommended him as a translator. And he was involved with the case, of course, because he was a translator, but the police noticed it was a bit too involved. So they turned attention on him, then turned attention on an associate of his. And I was thinking, okay, what about the other people at the hotel? There was, or at the resort. What about other people nearby? I mean, a crime like this isn't committed. A crime like this, there must be a proximity between the victim and the perpetrator. So someone nearby must have been in on it. So there was a look at. Another red flag was that over the years, a lot of the people who were present kind of changed or amended their stories. Then there were inconsistencies that they couldn't verify Madeleine being seen around for a few days before disappearance. So the more I look at this case, I see inconsistency of inconsistency. Then there are conspiracy theories. Well, of course you can get conspiracy theories on the internet. No, you can't. Often when you find conspiracy theories, those are just people that want attention, just want to play important. But sometimes they notice things. The thing is, this case has been quite political. There was an agency, I believe, an organization from the United States that became involved. Even the Pope, the Vatican became involved. I mean, that happened, I was thinking, this political. If it's political, it means there's some conflicts being hidden over here. And not to mention, just a year after this Madeleine McCann case began, yet this financial crisis that occurred in the Western world caused a lot of people to lose their financial assets, their homes, their savings. But there were signs in 2007 already that the financial crash was about to come, but that was covered up. So some conspiracy theorists claim, well, this case may have been a setup just to distract people from the financial crash that was about to come. But anyway, I don't see any evidence to go further into that, so I'll just put that aside. Maybe there's something to it, maybe not. In any case, then the British media began to bash the Portuguese police. And I was thinking, hold on a minute. There's a 3-year-old British subject missing. An innocent little girl who's not to blame for the fact that the road is. And now you focus your attention on the police officers, how horrible of a job they're doing. I'm sorry, but if the Portuguese police is effective, well, sorry, but that's on them. They need to fix that. And if this case shows them need to fix it, that's them. You shouldn't be focused on the police of Portugal. You should be focused on the case. So I noticed about this distraction away from the case towards the police. They were looking for boogeymen from the start. Long story short, years passed by. The McCann couple even appeared on news broadcast. Not it's a news broadcast, but anyway, they appeared on an interview in Germany, and suddenly a golden tip came in about this German guy who was convicted. He was a convicted criminal. He did a lot of burglaries and he molested children. About this guy who was kind of living nearby Praia da Luz. And since then, he has become the prime suspect, and they figured out that this man was deep into chasing his fantasies of molesting children. Quite deep into it. They found out that he owned some abandoned factory or some property, I believe it was in Germany. By the way, you can watch 60 Minutes. There's a documentary by 60 Minutes Australia that mentioned this, so you can watch that documentary too, because the Netflix documentary from 2019. And a lot of developments happened afterwards. So you watch the 60 Minutes Australia documentary about this case. It covers more about this German suspect. His name is Christian Bruckner. Some say Bruckner, but Bruckner is how you pronounce it in German. I speak German too. And they found a plastic bag buried with USB sticks that contain thousands of files with child pornography or pornography in general, which is quite disturbing. And there was also a dog they found. I believe it was a dog they found buried. Anyway, you can watch it yourself. But anyway, think about it. Why would you, if you want to erase your traces as a serial child molester, why would you bury the drives with the evidence? Why not just burn them, destroy them? This is a bit weird. And here's the thing. When this man became a suspect, the local police even informed him he was a suspect. In the documentary of 6 Minutes Australia, they admit it was a mistake. Wait a minute, hold on a minute. You mean to tell me that over more than a decade, they've been looking for this missing British girl in Portugal, and now there's a link to a German child molester, and the German police is informing the man that he is a suspect in investigation? Doesn't this give him time to try to get rid of evidence or whatever? What the heck is going on here? Were there disciplinary measures taken about the local police station for doing this thing? And then the prosecutor in Germany who does this case, of course he can't reveal too much information about the case. But the thing is, if the man is in custody, the man can't flee, you can reveal more because the man can't do anything about the evidence anymore. Truly being told, when you watch the documentary of 60 Minutes Australia, the prosecutor is not that convincing. That whole documentary wasn't even that convincing, to be frank. Oh, and they spent over 13 million pounds. I mean, that's from the British side in solving this case. 13 million! Look, this Madeleine McCann case, it reveals one thing, obviously. And if people don't notice this, it is because they're in on no one to notice this. There's a pact of silence going on. Later they found out that the phone records of this German guy placed him right outside of the resort on the 3rd of May 2007, the same day that Madeleine McCann disappeared. Now, is this proof that he did it? No. But it's evidence he was there, so he might have been involved. Okay. The reason I'm saying it's a pact of silence over here is because this Christian Bruckner, he was convicted for raping an elderly woman in a brutal way in Portugal. He was released after 8 months, I believe, in prison. And the Portuguese authorities were not aware of his child molesting convictions of Germany. But anyway, the guy molested an elderly lady in a brutal way. He went to prison and served his sentence. Don't you think maybe it's time to kick the man out of the country? Yes, I know. I know it's the European Union, but if in the European Union there are exceptions, you can deport someone. No. The other red flag about this case is the following. According to the story told by the parents and the others nearby, they were eating at a restaurant and they left the children in an apartment nearby or somewhere around the corner. And once in a while, one of the parents would get up and check on the children and come back. Why not just hire a nanny or someone to watch the children? Why would you do that? That's a bit neglectful. But anyway, I'm not here to make conclusions about what happened to Madeleine McCann. I'm here to point out that this whole case is one big cover from the start. Forget about the political and media context that it became a political matter for a while. The political side can be explained as, Praia de Luz, there's a lot of British residents there, there's a lot of British tourists, and if the tourist industry goes down, it's going to be bad for the economy there in the south of Portugal. You can say that's why it became political. Okay? And that's why the media is all in on it. You can excuse the media and the political debate around it. But why didn't anyone address this weird behavior of leaving your children over there that you can't see them, and then once in a while someone needs to check on the children? I mean, those were not poor people. And the resort where they stayed, or the location where they stayed, was not a cheap one either. So all of you had good paying jobs, you had the money to afford to be there, but you didn't have the money to afford a nanny to watch your kids. Come on now. Are you kidding me? Nah. And by the way, if a man breaks into the house, there must be signs of forced entry. Those, as far as I can tell, were not found. If it remembers a 3-year-old girl asleep, if a kidnapper comes in and he grabs her and puts her on him, the child is going to notice some weird movement. The child's going to wake up saying, "Mommy, Daddy." If the child sees a strange face, the child's going to scream or cry, whatever. So even that story is a bit off. And by the way, the location of the resort was not in some abandoned village or in some dunes area where there's nobody around. It was actually surrounded by many properties. And there were people in the street. No man can carry a 3-year-old in pajamas on the street in that area and nobody notices. Everyone thinks, hey, this is a bit off. Nah. And by the way, the first guy that he named as a suspect, he suddenly left Britain and came back to Portugal around a few days, I believe, before the disappearance happened. And he became so involved with it. So a lot of people thought that's strange too. Now look, whatever the outcome of the investigation is, it's still going. Just pointing out one thing. Whenever there's a pact of silence, the conspirators, because that's what it is, when you agree a pact of silence, that's a conspiracy. You don't want to talk about something. Whenever it's a pact of silence, the conspirators always want to put some smokescreen to distract other people. In the case of Madeleine McCann, by the way, I'm not saying that the parents are the conspirators over here. I didn't accuse them. I'm saying there is some type of pact of silence going on around here. People know what actually happened, but they don't want to talk. So they want to sabotage the investigation. So, whenever there's a pact of silence, there's always be a smokescreen. In the case of the Madeleine McCann case, it's this emotional tension. Oh, dear 3-year-old little girl, so pathetic. Look at the parents, they're heartbroken. Oh, we have children too, or I have nieces too. What if something would happen with them? It's the emotional impact caused by mainstream media that became the smokescreen to hide the pact of silence. A lot of people, especially in the beginning, were not willing to point out the inconsistencies because, hey, if you were to point out the inconsistency, people say, hey, have some respect. Parents lost a daughter, or the daughter is missing. They know whether the child is dead or not, or just have some sympathy and have some decency, man. That's the emotional part. People would attack you for even suggesting something is off, or they would call you a conspiracy theory or conspiracy nut. So the emotional tension around the case became the smokescreen to prevent people from actually facing the inconsistencies for what they were. And this is what you need to look out for with every pact of silence. Anytime there's a pact of silence, there will be a smokescreen, often an emotional one, just to distract the people. And by the way, someone say, Rashid, I understand what you're saying, pact of silence happens, but come on. You mean to tell Rashid that this case has become so famous, nobody came out and spoke the truth about it? Well, let's look at, I'm going to mention a few other cases. The case of Jamie Saville. Jamie Saville was a media personality of Britain. He died in 2011, but it came out that he was a serial child molester. And look at this. He secretly hated children, and he was acting his sadistic urge out on children. He was doing it for decades. People knew about it, including the British police, but they kept silent. There's a big pack of silence over there. Even though the victims were speaking out, even when he was still alive, nobody wanted to do anything about it. After he died, it became too obvious that there was something being covered up, and it all came out. Then you also have Rolf Harris. Well, he's still alive. He's in his 90s now. He's an Australian musician and singer-songwriter who was also convicted for molesting children. It was children, or no, it was underage girls. 4 underage girls. I'm sorry. Not sure whether they were children. Well, they're children according to the law, but 4 underage girls. So his career ended, and then you have that other guy, Robert Hughes, which I addressed already one time in one of my live streams. They also knew he was active over 20 years, but nobody spoke out. Not even his colleagues who noticed odd behavior spoke out and said, hey, this Robert Hughes was a famous Australian actor. He was kind of the face of Australian entertainment kind of back then. So people didn't want to be disturbed. Some of the victims back then, when they spoke out as children, people told, we don't hear about it. So don't tell me pacts of silence don't happen when a case becomes big. Some pacts of silence last for decades till all the conspirators are dead, and then we'll figure out, something was off over here. Now I don't hear about the Summer Wells case. I haven't heard about that one, so I may need to look into that later on. What I'm pointing out here is that anytime there are inconsistencies that are obvious to you as an outsider, it also must be obvious for the people inside. Okay? Now look, if you're in a situation, you may not notice everything about the situation. But this thing, an obvious inconsistency will also be evident to the insiders eventually. It can't be the outsiders, strangers, see an inconsistency openly, and insiders never notice it. And by the way, the Madeleine McCann case became a political case eventually. That's why so many people know about it. There are many more cases involving harm on children which never reach the media because they're not considered important enough. And when you look at those cases, there are inconsistencies too. Okay. Thanks for correcting me, Les. Rolf Harris was artist as well, painter. Okay. You're from Australia, Les, so of course you know it better than me. Thanks for pointing that out too. Now, what do you do? Because this is where I'm heading towards with the live stream now. What do you do when you notice an obvious inconsistency? Now, first thing first, when you notice an inconsistency, admit inconsistency is there. Don't play games on yourself, thinking, I must be mistaken or whatever. Don't do that. That's what a lot of people do. When you notice an inconsistency, admit it's an inconsistency. This what happens, it shouldn't happen, but it's still happening. Second thing is, look around you. Who is denying the inconsistency? Whenever there's inconsistency, it's there because there's denial. There's something people don't want to look at. So the second thing you do is check who is involved, who is denying this. The third thing is, you question how many people are involved. If there are many people, then you know it's a big thing. The fourth thing is, you check is, what are people talking about all of the time? What are the common conversations about around here? Here's why. When there's an inconsistency, it means that people are denying something. And to deny something, you need to put attention to something else. So if you ask yourself, what are people talking about often, then you know what a distraction is you want to put out there. Maybe you're at a place and people keep talking about um, about those, I would say, illegal migrants come in and cause trouble. They always complain about those migrants that end up in criminality. This is what people talk about all the time. They notice, okay, the people are a bit too upset with migrants coming in and causing trouble. Why don't they ever talk about the disturbances that happens around them? Now you know, they want to hide something. So after you figure out what people are talking about all the time, what people are distracting it with, now you go to the fifth stage. Now you realize that this is a serious issue. Now what do you do when you realize a serious issue? You fast and pray about it as soon as possible, and then step 6, you hint to a few people around you that you think that something's off. So if, for example, you notice that anytime a bartender walks in, a lot of the customers kind of look away with disgust. You then tell someone, haven't you noticed when the bartender walked by, people tend to look weird at him? Or guys, or you may even do the clever. You may say, guys, haven't you noticed something off about the bartender? A lot of people are looking away with disgust from the bartender. So instead of you pointing out what happened direct, that may be a bit too much of confrontation. You may ask them, guys, have you noticed something off about the bartender? People obviously consider something off with them, so you ask if they notice it. And if they tell you the bartender, or you mean Jamie over there, don't worry about it, man, whatever. But maybe those people that don't notice it. But if you notice some kind of defensive attitude, saying, the bartender, why do you ask that? What's going on? If people become a bit defensive when you ask that, now you know, okay, something's being hidden over here. If people ask you, you say something's off with them, what do you mean what is off? If they ask further for information, then you tell them that I notice people are looking away from him with disgust. Then, if people tell you, F it, man, maybe those customers had a bad day, if they make excuses for it, then you know, okay, these people may not be involved, but they're enablers because they don't even want to face something's off. Because if it's a bartender and people look away with disgust from him, I'm sorry, but there's something weird. Why are you still in the restaurant if you have issues with the bartender? If there's a different skin color, you know it's racism. And that means you need to watch out with those people. If it's not racism because they're both of the same skin color, that means there must be something they're blaming the bartender for. So it's a situation that's off. But if people there don't want to deal with it, say, hey, just leave me alone, I'm just coming here to eat, then you know those type of people, you need to watch out for. Because those are the type of people that will sabotage investigations just because they want to be left alone. So, once you notice that people don't want to hear about it or people try to brush it off, then keep your mouth shut towards people. And the 8th step is politely and peacefully leave the situation. So if you're in a restaurant eating and you notice a lot of people look angry at the bartender, and then you hint towards the people around you, have you noticed they're looking quite, have you guys noticed something off with the bartender? And when you talk about, you mentioned that the angry looks, and you notice that people you're sitting with just want to brush it off, finish eating what you're eating, excuse yourself, and leave. If it's at work that you notice inconsistency, and you notice that it's something that's way obvious, just excuse yourself, pretend like you're busy with work, remain busy, and leave work and go home. After a while, begin to look for another job if the Holy Spirit instructs you to. That's why you need to pray and fast. I mean it. Once you notice inconsistency and people around don't even want to acknowledge inconsistency, or they do acknowledge it but they want to brush it off because they don't want to be bothered, then those are the type of people that may even end up sacrificing you if you speak out openly. Now, am I encouraging you to be a coward and not speak out? I'm not doing that. You can speak out, but speak out in an effective and proper way without putting yourself at risk. So, understand this. Anytime there's a code of silence that goes on, there's a pact of silence, there's some people want to keep hidden. Now, code of silence is when a pact of silence became the norm, became the policy. For example, it can be there is a code of silence in the Catholic Church that you don't talk about priests abusing children. And that's why the abuse of children by priests keeps going on. A code of silence is when a pact of silence has become policy, it's become the norm. But anywhere you have a pact of silence or even a code of silence, realize there's danger over there. And if you keep living over there, you'll be part of the danger. Either you'll be endangered or you end up enabling danger to someone else. And it will begin to haunt you. So if you can escape out of the situation, escape as soon as possible. You can always open your mouth afterwards to reveal what you noticed. Every day you have the internet, you can do it anonymously even. Look, too often we ignore inconsistencies till the situation is way too far, and then it's too late. Let me see. I think I know. Look, it's not cowardice when you keep your mouth shut and get out of the situation, and then you, in a strategic way, reveal things to get something done about it. Because if you notice inconsistency and you begin to run your mouth in the streets, people will call you crazy, a conspiracy theorist, and you will even be locked up for disturbing public order. So don't just go out and run your mouth in the streets or run your mouth on YouTube. Okay? Leave the situation first so that you are safe, and then you check what you can do to hinder the bad situation. That's being wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove, as Christ commanded us to be. Christ command us to be practical and flexible, not stubborn and stupid. So, what do I think about the Madeleine McCann case? It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what is. And what is will come out sooner or later. Whether this German suspect is the one or not doesn't really matter. What matters is this 3-year-old has been victimized by the community. And the community, both the British community, the British side as well as the Portuguese side, they failed to look at the context. Yes, I pointed out. I'm not incriminating anyone here, I'm just pointing out the situation for what it is. I'm just giving an analysis. Look, all those Portuguese people were help searching. I praise that. I'm not incriminating any of them. I'm just pointing out that they've been deceived too. Look, you can do good and still be deceived. Okay? For example, let's say you're a police officer and one day a woman comes in claiming that she was raped, and she begins to cry and talk about how horrible the rape was. You document the incident, she files police reports, and you hand it in, and then they go after the suspect. You stand with the woman because your mom told you always believe a woman when she claims she's been victimized. Even in school, feminists told you always believe a woman. But later you realize, wait a minute, what this woman said during the police report doesn't add up. She contradicts herself. Then people tell you, well, she's been victimized, she was traumatized. Of course you will make some mistakes. Come on, if you speak, sometimes you also get stuck in your words, whatever. Don't worry, just believe her. Just, what are you doing? Are you standing up for the rapist? No, of course not. That's the emotional smokescreen. Here's the thing. Your instincts, your inner radar hint to you something's off with what this woman told me. And later you find out that this woman was actually hoeing around over there, and the guy that alleged weeks ago, before the alleged rape happened. And this woman was also dating another guy at the same time that she was engaged with. So this woman was engaged, and she was also cheating on her fiance with this other guy. And when this other guy found out, he broke up with her, and now she claims she was raped by the guy. And now the fiance has so much sympathy for her, and he even married her earlier on. So now you realize, so likely this guy she accused of rape it never happened. She's just using emotions of other people to distract people away from her hoeing around because she wants to marry the guy. And if her hoeing around comes out, she will miss out on marrying the guy, and the guy has a good job. If her hoeing around comes out, the guy will break off the engagement, and everyone will know what type of hoe she is, and that will backfire. So by her claiming to be a rape victim, nobody wants to hear about her hoeing around, because people say, don't talk that bad about her. She's a victim, man. So by using the victim card, she dodged away consequences at expense of the one guy she accuses. Now, such things often happen. So let's say you were raised by your parents, by your society, to always believe a woman. And one day, out of the conviction how you were raised, you believe you believe a woman tells you she's been molested or raped. So you believe her and want to but just to be served. But you don't realize that this woman is lying to you, she's just a narcissist wanting attention. And you were tricked by her. So you think you were doing a good thing by believing her. Because that's how you were raised. But how you were raised was effective. You shouldn't believe any woman just because it's a woman. You should believe someone when there's credible evidence that what they're saying is true or realistic. Okay? There was a case in Australia, I forgot the name of the guy. His fiancée lied on him that he raped her, and he went to prison. It was a female police officer in Australia that looked at the case and realized, oh man, this is off. And she went deeper in it, and this female police officer found out this woman lied on another man years before. She accused the man of rape many years before, and that was proven to be a lie. And based on this, they reopened the case and found out this Australian man behind bars is innocent, and the guy was released. That Australian guy lost everything. He lost his house he was building, he lost his job, his reputation. Well, it's going better with him now, but still, everyone turned on him, including his friends and his colleagues turned on him, even though there was zero proof of the rape. And later it was proven this woman was a pathological liar. So those people at the police or those other folks may have thought they were doing the right thing, but they were being misled. Look, you can have good instincts and good character and still be taken advantage of if you don't look at the bigger picture. That's why Christ said, be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. So Christ doesn't tell us to be sociopathic like a lot of those folks are, but Christ wants us to outdo the intelligence of sociopaths by being practical and flexible. And here's another thing we need to look out for. Let's say something happens and someone goes to YouTube and talk about it and asks, what do you think? It doesn't matter what people think. Look, if a man abandoned his family and he went live with someone else, and you ask, what do you think? What the fuck are you asking me? What do I think? What I think doesn't matter. What matters is this: what happens. It's wrong, and something should be done about it. If someone is direct and blunt and doesn't consider anyone's feelings, that's violence. But some say, what do you think? It doesn't matter what people think. Watch out with this. If you have people always asking, what do you think? Or you have news outlets or people on YouTube, with YouTube channels asking after, what do you think? Those people are not into what's true. They're into appeasing others emotionally. And such people, they're often people's pleasers. I don't think they're bad people, but demons can use them to cause contention. And here's the thing. Anytime there's a pact of silence, such people end up collaborating with the pact of silence, even though they're not part of it, because they're so focused on the emotions of other people. Yes, feelings and emotions matter. If you feel bad or if you're emotionally stuck, it will be bad for your physical health. So I'm not saying that feelings and emotions don't matter. They do. But not the main thing that matters. What matters is safety and sanity in the community. That's why on my YouTube channel, you don't hear me ask, what do you think? No. What we think and what we feel should be in line with the reality of the situation. If what you think and feel is based on your own preference and on your own emotional investments, that means you're operating on a narcissistic level. You're operating in narcissism because you only focus on your feeling, how you think, what you want. It's all about me, myself, and I. We need to be focused on what's true and what matters and what we're going to do about it so that the situation both escalates and we're better off. What matters is what happens, what do we do about it, and what can we do about it on the long term to contribute to solutions. And that's why I'm telling you from the start, this Madeleine McCann case was sabotaged by this emotional tension that they used in the case. Okay, enough about the Madeleine McCann case. Me personally, I don't believe much that there's revealing about the case at the moment. I don't even think that girl is still alive. That woman, if she's still alive, should be a grown woman by now. I don't think she's alive anymore. Maybe she died days before she was reported missing, and there's a whole cover-up going on. Maybe she died shortly afterwards. We don't know. But at this point, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we need to learn from this case so that in the present we don't repeat the same errors. All right, so that was the live stream about pacts of silence. Are there any questions around this topic? Not about the Madeleine McCann case, because that's ongoing and you can find a lot about it out there already. Are there questions about the topic pacts of silence? Let me know in the live chat. Okay, another thing I need to point out. People in general out there, they want to be left alone, they want to be at ease, they want to avoid, they want to escape. So people all often have this tunnel vision about the situation. For example, someone may say people's pleasers are dangerous. Always people pleasing. Just say no, stand up for what you want. Hold on. People pleasing in itself is not wrong. It's natural to people please. People should be pleasing one another. That's how we form warm and comfortable environments. But when people's pleasing becomes excessive and pathological, now it's a problem. But people pleasing in itself is not wrong. You always just saying what you think without regarding people's feelings. I'm sorry, but that's violence. So then if people say, people pleasers, they're dangerous. Okay, then people say, I take the opposite route. I just say what I think and I don't care how you think about me. I'm sorry, but it matters how people think about you, because the way they think about you will affect you. But anyway, after we have a tunnel vision, they don't look at the context. And that's why I avoid developing a tunnel vision. Sometimes you need to take a second thought about the case. Someone asks, how old would Mandy be? Well, she was born in 2003. So this year, 2022, she would have been 18 right now, right, turned 19 this year. All right. What I'm just pointing out here is that beware with people with a tunnel vision. Okay? I'm not saying if you have a tunnel vision, you're a bad individual, but avoid developing a tunnel vision. Sometimes take a second thought. For example, if a woman walks in and claims she was raped or molested, don't just follow this feminist advice, just believe her because she's a woman. Okay, listen to what she says. Don't dismiss it. Listen to what she says, take notes of it, and examine it. And if you get anything in a radar, something's off what she's saying, don't ignore it. Take a second thought. Maybe she's deceptive. Maybe she's hiding something. I'm not saying it is true, but sometimes consider the second thought. The only one where you should never consider second thought is the Heavenly Father. God, in the form of Christ Jesus, he's the only one you should never have a second thought with, because he's God. He never lies. He's faithful and true. Anyone else, unless they're confirmed believers walking by faith, sometimes you need to consider the second thought, I'm telling you. But often we don't want to consider second thought because we were raised not to. We were raised not to question official stories. We were raised not to question the social facts of our community. A social fact is something people agree is true. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If people agree it's true, it's true. So social facts, we're told don't question them. Rightfully so, because if you question social fact, it will trigger anger against you. But anyway, sometimes just take a second thought. Okay? Now, that was it for this live stream. And remember, some people were put on death row, ready to be executed. And later, people took a second thought and reopened the case to feel they were innocent. So, what I'm saying is, don't always take a second thought. You shouldn't be doubtful and suspicious of everyone, no, but sometimes take the second thought. So, I have a lot of second thoughts on the Madeleine McCann case, but hey, that's not relevant for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ, do the will of your Father, and keep your eyes open. Don't develop a tunnel vision, and always look at the bigger picture, and when necessary, consider the second thought. Be at peace. See you next time.